pick out some of the stories in your life, right?
Mhm.
There's a project that I'm working on, and I really want to understand what's the source of particular thoughts that we come across. Why do we believe the things that we believe in? I want you to just pick whatever you want to share with me, a thought that you feel very strongly about, and then tell me the source of that thought. Why do you believe in that particular thought? So, for example, I'm going to go to the sky is blue. If I say, I don't care what nobody say on this earth, I know that the sky is blue. And this is the reason why. When I was a little girl, I went up to heaven and I saw them put blue dye with my own eyes onto the clouds. And that allowed me to see X, Y, and Z. Tell me, what is a story that you can connect to a particular source? You can pull from anything you want to.
Okay, so just give you the thought now.
Yeah, what's the thought?
Yeah, so I believe that love is the most powerful thing in the universe. I my sources of evidence for that. One is my daughter having my daughter, she showed me what unconditional love is. I didn't think that there was a thing before she came into this world. And when she came into this world, I realized that there's nothing required. Like, I don't require anything of her. Like, if it was a woman that I dated in the past, it was like, you have to do this. If you don't do this, I'm not going to love you. If you mess up, then I'm not going to love you. But with my daughter, there's absolutely nothing she can do. I tell her that the same way you wake up in the morning and the sun shines and it sun shines every in the shine it shines every single day, and you don't have to pay anything for the sun to come up. You don't have to pray for the sun to come up. You don't have to petition for the sun to come up. It just does, and it shines on you every day. That's the same way my love is, and that is the reason why I know that love is the most powerful thing. I've seen it change people. I've seen it turn people crazy. I've seen it um, build and tear down. So love is without a doubt the most powerful thing in existence. And if anyone is ever privileged enough to feel it, then they understand for sure what I'm saying.
How would you define love? What exactly is love? And how do you feel it with your daughter?
Yeah, love is complete. I think that it is the it is completeness. There are no gaps in love. There is no places to feel. If you love someone, let's say a mother who loves a child and that child becomes a drug addict or that child becomes a thief or what have you. If you ever seen mothers, they will love that kid no matter what. They're like, Johnny's, he's a good kid. I know him. Or you can love a person and find out something crazy about him. Like, oh man, he just robbed the store. But because you love them to their core, you're like, man, there must have been something going on. Like it is complete. There's nothing that needs to be filled. And that's how I identify it. It is all encompassing. Um it is melodic. Um yeah, it's just complete. It's perfect.
So, in a case where we have the different types of love, you know how there's the agape love and all the different types of love that they usually describe on Valentine's Day in churches. There's some love that we assign to our family members, some that we assign to our romantic relationships. In a romantic relationship, when you say that you love someone or you say that this experience with this person is completeness, does that mean that you're overlooking everything even in your romantic relationships, or can you express if there's any difference between the type of love that you have for your daughter and the type of love that you have for anybody in a romantic relationship?
So again, it's completeness. You love in spite of. So it is not that you're overlooking something from them. It is that let's say that they have an issue, they spend too much money or they whatever. Like you're gonna love them. Like people say, I'm gonna love you through this. Like that is just a condition of something. It might be a trauma. It might be something that that person didn't learn. There, it is not a defect in their humanity. It's not a defect in their DNA. It's a learned behavior that they have experienced. And it's just, it can change. And so you love them through that. The same, you can experience someone who, gets angry every time, you have to leave and go on a business trip or what have you. When you start asking questions and you start to see like, wow, like their dad left when they were 12 years old. And the dad told them that they were going out for some milk. We hear that. And so now every time a man says, I'm going somewhere, it triggers that response from that when that person was 12 years old. You know, I was talking with a guy a few months ago, and when my first introduction to him was through other people, and they villainized this dude. They were like, "Man, this is one of the worst people in the world. He's horrible. He's this," and they were trying to get me to hate him. I'm like, "Nah, like I'm gonna talk to him. I'm like, I'm not just because y'all say this stuff, and I understand that he did these things, but I'm just gonna talk to him. Like I'm not gonna demonize this person." And I had a chance to talk to this guy. He and I were talking, and he said, "Man, when I was born, my mom had me on the bathroom floor in a gas station, and I was left on the floor in the gas station for 3 hours before somebody found me." And he said, "Man, I've never had a relationship with her." And so he had trauma from when he was a kid. And then he started talking about all the things that had happened in his life where his dad wasn't in his life. He was a victim of abuse, all these different things. And now you see that these things are connected to a thing. And the guy, he is changing for the better, but it's a war inside his mind. So yeah, I say all that to say that, we sometimes people, when not sometimes, a lot of times people are connected to things that have caused them to act a certain way. And so if you love them, then you can, see that.
So I love what you say here. And it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you can love everyone because everyone has the root of having these flaws or these traumas that impact them to be something that allows them to be hated by others, if they only look at it through one lens. But if you look at it through the lens that you're speaking of, is there any is there any place where you're like, I don't love this particular situation, or are you in a space where everything is love?
Person or situation.
When I say situation, it could be the person as well. Like for
Okay.
instance, when you spoke about loving someone through their addiction or whatever, that I'm trying to understand what loving that person through the addiction means. Why does that mean that you love them? um the only reference that I have for love that I go to is that I can stand on is in Corinthians, and it's like, not keeping a record of wrongs and all those type of things. So that's how I'm seeing love, but I'm interested in seeing like what exactly do we mean when we say we love? Like if I'm in a romantic relationship and I say I love you so much, most of that is coming from and from my understanding and through my growth. When I was younger, the I love you was like I just felt good, right? Like it was just fun. Then as I got older, it was like I can be myself and I appreciate that I'm having this space with you to be who I am. And then as I keep going through life, it's like it's not about separating it, It's not about separating it from, how I love my child versus how I love my romantic partner. It's really just experiencing what it means to really forgive over and over again. It feels like an act of forgiveness where I'm taking my ego out of any situations and then looking at it for I could be on the other end of this and how would I want to be treated. It's kind of like going through that process in the forgiving phase, because I think should we should love is not limited. I feel like
Yeah.
it's freely given and everybody should be loved. So when we kind of distinguish like, oh, I love you so much, or I'm in love with you, I'm always thinking like, what does that really mean? Like we just say it, but I'm still kind of like funneling through that myself. And as I listen to different responses, I'm just trying to gather like somebody gonna kind of hit the spot, like what does that really mean to them? So
Yeah.
but if that's all you got, that's
No, I one of the things I think is I am open to understanding. Like I I used to work for the railroad, and I had a engineering rotation when I was in West Virginia, and I had a crew that I had to monitor for a week. And when I was there, the first day I showed up, these dudes had like long beards, like tobacco in their mouths. They had like rebel flags on the back of their trucks. And by the end of the week, like we were laughing and talking, and one of the guys was like, "John, you know what, man? Like just like us." And for the first time in his mind, he probably saw like the first day he probably saw me as black and all these other labels that the world had given somebody that looks like me. But when we started to talk to each other and understand each other beyond those labels, then his love for me, and not anything crazy or ridiculous, but he started to see like we're human, like we're the same thing. And so even if and I see this, when somebody has like let's say somebody has a Trump sign in their yard or whatever, we're automatically triggered to hate their this to this to this to this. But if you would sit down and talk to them, there's a root of something there. And once you get to that understanding, now they may even say, well, man, let me give you an example. I had a homeboy when I was in high school. His name was Steve. Steve was this white kid. He drove this pickup truck with these big mud tires, and he would put a rebel flag on the back of his truck when he would leave school, and it would fly on the back of his truck. And one day I was like, Steve, why do you put that flag on the back of your truck? He was like, I mean, what's wrong with the flag? Because he and I played football together. He was like, man, like it's like my grandfather flew it. Like it was just a flag to me. It was just always represents like culture. And I said, man, well, that has roots with like the Ku Klux Klan, and it gives black people anxiety. He was like, what? Like he had no idea that that thing was connected to this. And he was like, man, like you're my friend. Like I don't want to do anything to cause you to not feel whole. And so he took it down. And so I say out to say, if I would approach it like, man, he's a redneck, he's racist, he's this, we would have never come to an understanding. That's why I say love is the most powerful thing, because the higher powers who want to keep us divided are counting on you not loving another person. And love is understanding. And so as long as we can look at a person and say, well, they're black, they're a Trump supporter, they're a Biden supporter, they're a woman, they're all this, or he's a man and he's all this. As long as we are separated from understanding each other, we will stay in silos and we'll stay slaves to this thing that is keeping us apart.
Absolutely. There it is. Yes. I 100%. And it's so interesting because I've had a story very similar to that. And